central banker would not be denied.
Good Lord. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Doomcast. My name is Charlie McGrath. It is Doomcast DC 50, Doomcast 50. We are just 2 short weeks away from a one-year reunion, and I will say this, that myself and my friend and my co-founder, Doug Owen, we've not missed a week. This is it. We're coming up on a year without a break in the Doomcast, and I want to welcome you to this broadcast, Doomcast number 50. Again, my name is Charlie McGrath. My co-founder is Doug Owen. And
Charlie's worked up. He's really worked up.
I'm pissy. I am pissy. Pissy. You call me bossy. Go ahead, play it. You
need the jingle.
I'm bossy. I'm the bitch y'all love to hate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I am. Doug Owen, listen to me. Listen to me right now. And you know what? If you go into the rearview mirror, everything's happened before. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to freaking lose my mind. Because I got told by an RT news presenter 6 months ago that I was sensationalizing what's going on in Ukraine. I was being dramatic about it. And when
Who was this? Let's name drop. Drop.
I don't know. It's the fat dude who is on RT.
I know exactly who that guy is. He's big. He's fat. He's a fumbler.
Doesn't he look American? He looks American.
He is American.
No, man, he's not. He's well, maybe he is. He's living in Moscow. I know that, but he's in interviewing me on the topic of Ukraine 6 months ago, and I was talking about this is going to continue to get bloodier and bloodier. There's, it isn't a matter of destabilizing Libya, right, where the people are living in third world conditions due to the economic situation they're in. That the blame could be placed on the West for that matter. But still, the situation in Ukraine is completely different because of the actors involved, and it's going to continue to escalate and get worse. And I was told at that time, don't you think you're being a little dramatic here? Don't you think you're being a little bit of a sensationalist? And it's just continued to develop into this quagmire ever since then. I'm sickened to say that my commentary videos that I've continued to put out weekly on the topic, I'm sickened to say it developed today into this downing of the Malaysian Airliner.
Another missing Malaysian Boeing 777. What did Boeing do? Who did they piss off? That's what I want to know. Why are
They just built the best plane. The 777 is awesome. I've flown on it before, and it's an absolutely incredible plane.
Prone to being shot down by Vladimir Putin, according to some people out here. Just let's give a little context of what's happened. I mean, we had the sanctions, executive order.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's go back. Let's go back way back. Time machine. If we had some kind of cool music that indicated traveling in time, this would be a good time to play said music.
Yeah, it sure would. All right, now we're back.
If we go back several months, we see a Ukrainian government that is corrupt as the day is long. There's no disputing that. Eastern European governments is a government that is dominated by oligarchs. It has always been that way, and it continues to be that way. However, regardless of the fact that only the uber rich come to power, where does that sound familiar from? As in our own form of governance. But regardless of the fact that it's corrupt or not, it was Ukrainian in nature. But several months ago, with yet another color revolution, we had $5 billion of U.S. taxpayer money and 60-plus programs that were implemented in order to topple that government so we could have civil strife, civil unrest, and eventually the implementation of the Poroshenko Chocolate King Western. Whoa. Sorry. Weird feedback on mine. Western-backed IMF-style government, which is what we have today. And unfortunately, for the last at least 2 months, this is left the front page of any Western newspaper. It certainly left any mention on the nightly news on the fill-in-the-blank alphabet news networks. But the reality of it is this situation continues to fester and get worse and worse, leading to what we see today, a situation where eastern Ukraine is in all-out civil war to the point where a domestic airliner flying at 33,000 feet flies over this region. Flies over this region and catches itself a missile that we don't know from where, either from Ukraine, the pro-Russian separatists, or from Russia itself, leading to the death of 200, at this point, as we record Doomcast number 50, 298 civilian deaths. It's a quagmire. It's disgusting. And in large part, we can thank 5 billion U.S. taxpayer dollars for bringing us here, Doug Owen.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of money that went into this grand plan and bringing the Chocolate King into power, and we've had a stalemate. We've had a stalling in the U.S. agenda. But Shepard Smith is bringing us forward. This is the message. This is what people are receiving, and this is what I clipped this afternoon from my Fox television show.
Let's hear it.
So it's now believed that, according to American
Oh, yeah.
officials,
Let me set this up a little bit. Listen to Shep Smith here. Usually a really smooth guy. He is bumbling and fumbling. And this kind of makes me a little paranoid because he seems genuinely freaked out. He can't even speak correctly. His orator skills go to pot here in a moment. Just listen to this.
So it's now believed that, according to American officials, that a surface-to-air missile shot a passenger jet out of the sky.
Now, I mean, that's a hell of a thing to come up with. First off, I mean, does the United States have intel on the ground? How did they know this? I mean, This is a real quick turnaround of information to create a new narrative. So definitely, not a calm approach.
This is obviously within hours. I want to say within minutes of the shoot down. All this information is being spewed on establishment media. But please continue with Shep's portrayal of events.
25 people are dead as a result. Now to find out, did that missile come from the red zone there?
That missile come from the red zone there. Maybe the teleprompter's glitching out on him. I think he's having an Obama moment.
Freaking out. I think he's freaking out because
isn't it weird?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Now to find out, did that missile come from the red zone there in the Ukrainian...
I thought he was going to go off into one of those things where he's like, blah, 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 like the Illuminati mind control news people. Remember that last summer, where they were all... You're like, whoa.
Well, what's up with that?
Yeah, who's frizzle frying their brains?
Territory, or did it come from the other side of the Russian border?
Or
under all circumstances, it would appear, at least here in the early going, that, as one official put it to the Wall Street Journal, all roads lead to Moscow. That there is no way separatists could have done this without the help from Russia.
They couldn't have done it without Russia. Had to have Russia. It's
yeah,
part of the imperative.
It is very apparent to me. Doug Owen, this Ukrainian thing, as you well know, because I talk about it on the last several Doomcasts.
If you go to Doomcast.com, there's some great rants there by you that I watched this week.
Yeah, well, because I believe that the situation, and I have for months, that this is going to escalate into something far, far larger. I'm disgusted that it has taken the downing and the killing of 300 innocent people before the Western U.S. media will pick back up on this story. But I literally left the day job today so I could come home and watch the coverage because I was so interested. I mean, I was watching what the internet coverage was of the situation, but I wanted to see what the talking heads at CNN, Shepard Smith over at Fox, and some of these other idiots.
Red zone, whistle,
something words, kind of almost like a Family Guy skit. But I wanted to see what they were saying, and they boiled it down to two choices. Listen, America. Listening to Doomcast, and hopefully sent to you by a concerned friend who's awake for the first time you've heard Doomcast. Listen to me. The choices being presented to you by the establishment media are the following. It was either A, Russia, directly from their territory, big fat missile shot up and knocked down that plane, or B, it was Russia through their spokesman inside of Ukraine and in the form of pro-Russian separatists. But don't be fooled. Understand this. Look at who would have something to benefit out of shooting down this plane, because the only other party involved and the one that would have the most reason and would benefit the most from shooting down this 777, this Malaysian airliner, would be the government of Ukraine itself. They had the technology, they had the equipment, they had the wherewithal, and they certainly had the motivation, and especially you're listening to this broadcast, maybe we recorded it on the 17th of July. Going forward from here, this will be somewhat prophetic. You will see their motivation in the following days to bringing down this airliner, Doug Owen.
Well, I think that's a pretty safe prediction. I think that it's really interesting, the other angle, and that is the possible assassination attempt of Vladimir Putin, who was flying in the region today in the very same airspace. So that would have been convenient, and it's one hell of a message, even if they didn't intentionally target Vladimir Putin's plane. Shooting one down that's pretty close in the vicinity sends a hell of a meta message to him, I would imagine. Does. So it's going to be interesting because he's been pretty candid, and he's been speaking a lot, and we're going to hear more from him, of course, the response to the U.S. sanctions. And for you gun aficionados, you doomers out there, and I have been checking out the Ultimate Doom Gun, if you are a fan of Sega weapons and AK-47s and other Russian weaponry, one of the things that Barack Obama did through executive order last night is institute new Russian sanctions. So you should go through those.
Oh, my God.
Is
Sega on there?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
It's going to affect some of you out there. It's going to affect mostly U.S. businesses. I mean, that is who is ultimately going to be hurt the most by this. And it's interesting timing. You also have just yesterday the announcement of the new rival of the IMF, the BRIC Bank. So some high-level meetings between Vladimir Putin and the chunky chick that runs Brazil. I can't think of her name. I don't
Stop
care.
it. She's beautiful.
You're beautiful to me. All you chunky women out there are beautiful.
I'm going to tell you right now before
it's okay.
I'm going to tell you right now before we move any further. This gun ban.
It's gone too far when they outlaw AK-47s in America.
Yeah. It's time to go. It's time to strap it on.
Kalashnikov is rolling in his grave, Charlie McGrath.
Well, he's still alive, so he's probably rolling above his grave. But
really? I thought he just died like a couple weeks ago, didn't he?
No, take it back.
Yeah.
No, that did not happen. Did he?
I think you might. One of us is out to lunch.
You look it up while I tell who's going to be truly affected by this Sega ban, and it's our producer, Craig, who is in the market right now and thinking about getting himself and lusting over a Sega 12 gauge, which is a shotgun that has the same function as an AK-47. He's not going to be happy to hear this if he doesn't know it already.
Guns and Ammo. Let's see. This came out in 2013. Mikhail Kalashnikov passes away, leaves AK-47 legacy. December 23rd, 2013. So we're only 19 months behind.
Oh, my gosh.
I remember this blurb.
Here's the deal, and Craig just backed you up, so I got to believe it. He's dead. Craig says he's dead.
You don't believe me, but you believe producer Craig.
Well, I know you're not as big
Twitter.
as gun guy as me, and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know that. And probably because I've been watching all these documentaries on Kalashnikov and the AK. I knew Stoner was dead. He's been dead for quite some time.
Yeah, man.
My heart breaks. It's epic, says Craig Simpson, producer of Doomcast. Not really sure what that has to do with anything.
You
but
said
okay.
Stoner, right? Stoner's dead?
Stoner's the inventor of the M16.
Oh.
Yeah.
In Texas, they call stoners other things.
What do they call them?
Potheads.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, back to Putin and back to this the ban. I find these sanctions somewhat interesting because there's many European EU members, I believe it's 9 of them, that want nothing to do with further banning or further sanctions, rather.
Well, that's because their economies are directly tied to Europe, and so this this is a push. There's a lot of fence sitters in the New World Order. A lot of them in Europe. A lot of Euro skeptics. A lot of countries that got screwed into the euro. That the current regime is not thrilled with Barroso, central planning, Christine Lagarde. They realize the huge, I think, counterintuitivity of austerity and how that affects them, because they're the ones that have to institute it from Brussels.
That's
right.
Go ahead. Counterintuitivity. That's a cool word. A and B. I believe you're 100% right. These for Europe in totality, right? Even Germany, the powerhouse of Europe, they are, like it or not, believe it or not, they are somewhat tied at the hip with Moscow. They rely on that inexpensive Russian natural gas that flows right through where? The embroiled Ukraine. And so you mentioned fence sitters, and it's very accurate because there is a lot of countries around this world who are fence sitters, especially when it comes to sanctions against Russia. So what better way – wait, let me rephrase that. What could possibly take a nation from sitting on the fence to picking a side better than 298 dead civilians because they happened to be on board a Malaysian airliner that got shot out of the air?
Isn't that galvanizing? Isn't that what you just need? Isn't that the project for a new the project for a new European unification, needing the central government to protect you, and NATO, making NATO once again relevant, because people laughed about putting missile shields. They're like, why the hell are we pissing off the Russians putting missile shields in Poland? And why are we doing this? This is counterintuitive to everything that I think that a lot of the academics, and this is a house that's divided on the approach, Zygmunt Brzezinski and others. To
hate that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I hate his daughter, and I hate her co-host, Joe Scarborough, on The Morning Joe, which is just such an obvious name. I mean, come on. The Morning Joe. Your name's Joe, and we're going to do a show called The Morning Joe, which is like Java, and it's in the morning, and that's when you drink coffee. It's like, wow, that's as witty as it gets. But this has always been the game plan. I mean, there's always been the isolation, encirclement, and control of Russia, and that's the Brookings institutions. That's the old line of logic. And then there's also the international players and big money and financiers that see the world much differently. They see untapped open markets. They see the potential for new customer bases. And there's a lot of people in Russia. There's a lot of industry and resources to be exploited. So I don't think that everybody wants to close the tap. And then the alternative is who? The IMF, the United States, or the never-ending U.S. taxpayer tax base propping up your country. So with the advancement of the new BRIC bank, which I think that's the biggest deal here. That's the biggest X factor. We also have Boeing taking a hit, and Malaysia, where the last CIA missing mystery plane flew away. It's funny because
what the hell did they do? What the hell did Malaysia do?
They had to
earn
something.
the ire. Yeah,
because this is going to look bad on them again, once again.
No doubt about it. I mean, the question has to be asked: what did they do? They have the missing Indian Ocean plane, and now they're target of Ukraine. And I did that tonight. Why am I stuttering? It's probably this.
You're so excited and
no, I think it's a beer. I think it's a beer. You and I are. let's come clean now. Both of us are having
full disclosure.
Full disclosure. Both of us are enjoying a nice crisp lager as we speak tonight.
Yeah.
Which I need. I'm stressed out. But tonight I've done Press TV. I've done RT. I've done my Boiling Frog post where I've had, Professor James Fetzer? Have you talked to him before?
Jim Fetzer?
Yeah.
Yeah. We call him Uncle Fester.
I don't call him that. I call him Jim.
Jim.
That's his name.
James.
I call him Jim.
Hi, James. How are you doing?
Oh, well, I interviewed him tonight for Boiling. Mm-hmm. He goes on, brother, on and on and on.
Yeah, the only problem with Jim is, and I've interviewed him a few times, and I know the guy, kind of. as far as anybody that discusses topics with other people on the internet. I mean, we haven't had dinner or anything like that, but he just has so many facts that he bombards you with that creates this that you can't really. You don't have time to fact check anything, and you're just trying your best. It's like Webster Tarpley.
Wait a minute. It sounds like Doug Owen, master of facts, dumping them out, spewing them, if you will.
I try not to. I try to make it palatable. But that's the only thing about Jimmy. I mean, like you said, he can go on. It's just when you talk about the JFK assassination, I mean, that is his bread and butter. You want you just. I mean, it's an easy interview. You sit back and just listen.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a bit like herding cats. I mean, tonight was on Ukraine, and we got into Gaza, we got into 9/11, we got and all relevant, no doubt about it. But right now, I'm trying to enlighten my fellow Americans on Ukraine and what led to this situation today. And listen,
Sanctions,
Americans,
you got to get Europe. Let's see, what are the talking points? What would be the bullet points if you wanted to say, look, this is the probable false flag event conducted.
Wait a minute. How about probable? How about what would this is a great conversation. What would be the talking points if you wanted to steer your neighbor next door into the realization that America shares responsibility, holds responsibility for the downing of this airliner? Doug Owen, go.
There's really no way to do that. I mean, we have no intel. We have nothing that we can trust. That the Russians, they want to get there and they want to conduct their own investigation. And this is the race. The race to do the investigation and come up with some kind of conclusion, a paper that looks somewhat academic and trying to sell that to historians. That's where we're at right now with the whole situation on the ground. I look at who benefits, and that doesn't always mean that the people that benefit actually conducted the event. That doesn't mean you're guilty. Just because you got the insurance check doesn't mean you killed the wife. You might have benefited, but that doesn't mean that you were the person that actually conducted this.
Good point.
So it's hard to indict anybody, but of course. Well,
let's look at it. Let's break it apart. I mean, how in your imagination could Russia benefit from shooting down? First, I guess
they cannot. The only thing that this does is point to why, and they can spin this, and this is what Vladimir Putin is trying to do, is saying, look, this is why we need to get, we need to work together and have a ceasefire, and we have to have a truce. And I think both sides, everybody at least, is saying that they want more peace, that they want the military to stop engaging the public. And I think that they actually do want that, because if you let Poroshenko just continue to slaughter Ukrainian civilians in those videos getting on YouTube, I mean, this is a world where even NBC is saying that Israel is conducting war crimes. Things are changing, and you can't deny all of that. And
if you're constantly bombarded to spite, and it is to spite establishment Western media, if you're constantly confronted on the internet with the crimes that are going on against the civilian population in Ukraine, eventually it's going to end up in the release of the truth of actual reality, which is that in my opinion, and Doug, let's have your take on this, the implementation of the Rand Corporation memo, be it legitimate or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's so subjective. It's kind of like. And I mentioned it last week, there's a lot of game plans that have been put out there that, I could write a game plan and put together a piece that sounds really good and compelling. I could compel you to believe. And I think other people, and I'm not the most brilliant guy on the internet that, follows.
You're pretty brilliant, though. You're pretty brilliant.
Well, I appreciate that. But nonetheless, I think that the Rand Corporation, the only problem that I have with that document specifically, not really the gist of it, but just the chain of custody, where this thing, that's my big problem. That and the origin means everything, because I already know what the game plan is. That's just somebody saying that Rand knew the game plan too, and they put it out there, and private Fortune 500 companies and hedge funds are betting on it.
Yeah, well, I mean. I guess regardless if they put it out or not, which I mean, I'm still inclined to think that this was legitimate. I think it was talking points or bullet points for a PowerPoint presentation on what to do, or at least if it wasn't directly meant for the Chocolate King's government, it was meant as a potential game plan to follow, even if it was designed for the State Department and rather than the Poroshenko government. But regardless of who wrote it, the facts are the encircling of this region, the bombardment of the civilians, the increase and the full court press that we've seen. If you were following this story before the airliner shoot down, that's exactly what's happening. We've seen the absolute increase in Kiev and its ability to conduct a war, which they seem to have none of prior to their alleged ceasefire a few weeks prior. We've seen the loss of territory by the pro-Russian separatists and a consolidation of their efforts in Slovansk and Donetsk. But we've seen airplanes shot down in the last few days. And today, all of that was being used on the establishment media. They were quoting actual facts in recent history where we had Russian separatists shooting down a jet, shooting down a cargo plane just within the last few days, tying it in immediately to, oh, well, look, they shot down this airliner, leaving out the fact that, the military aircraft they shot at was at 12,000 feet, not 33,000 feet. They have no ability, at least they've demonstrated no ability to take out these targets at a higher range. It requires much more sophisticated military hardware. So in this situation that we see today, there are only two actors that have this ability. It either had to happen from the Ukraine government or it had to happen directly from the Russian side of the border. And there is no other option, but we're going to see, I guess, which way it's spun in the next few days. And you can bet your bottom dollar that Russia is going to be painted as the perpetrator of this act.
Well, they already are. And I think that's the real tragedy. It doesn't matter what the truth is. It's what people's perception of it is. And they're getting that now from Shepard Smith, who, red zone, Russia shoots missile, bad, Europe, NATO, boom.
Words. You know what? I'm looking at a picture of Micah Brzezinski right now staring at me. Yeah, she's freaking me out. That's all I can say.
Why are you looking at Mika?
I'm looking at Mika. She's looking at me. We got a thing happening here.
Well, let's talk about Gaza. There's a ground incursion going on, and it's pretty topical.
Weird happens within. You know what? I got to look it up to see what the timing was on this, but it was within hours, right? One event to the other, where we had an airliner get blown out of the sky, dominate the airwaves, and oh, by the way, we'll break in and talk about the ground invasion into Gaza.
Yeah, and it might, pave the way for the Israelis and their buddies, the Kurds, to create Kurdistan as Iraq crumbles under its own weight of bad U.S. policy and neocolonialism and other things.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah, this is Doomcast, so let's get it out there. In our community, right, which is we're going to call it independent media, there is I'm going to say a slant towards being anti-Israel. Would you agree with that?
I think so, yeah. I mean, they're just occupiers, and I think that people have a problem with, well, the way they conduct business today and, some of the racist and, hypocritical stances that they take. I mean, no other country in the world can get away with saying the reason that we're bombing people indiscriminately, because, of course, that's the proper response to the kidnapping of 3 Israeli citizens, and if you've listened to the audio tape, pretty compelling. These guys speak Hebrew, which is odd in and of itself. But nonetheless, even if they were legitimately Hamas, kidnapper, torturer types, why would you just start blowing up civilian infrastructure? Is that a proper response?
Well, I mean, what you say is true. However, I think to elaborate a little bit, their justification is this incessant bombing by missiles.
We want the quiet. If you do not give us the quiet, we blow you up. Here, you know what? Even the liberal media, and it's not even the alternative media, is starting to turn on them. Jon Stewart, he himself, Jewish. His name is John Leibowitz, and Jon Stewart sounded more apple pie and Americana, so that's why I went with that. But here you go. I mean, this is, I think, the shift, the new anti-Israel shift that's happening. And it's not just in the alternative media. Henry Kissinger said that Israel would not exist in 15 years. Now, that's a bold statement, saying that this
from Kissinger,
you know, from somebody who would have an inside track, maybe.
Just yet. Tonight, Israeli tanks are positioned outside the entrances to Gaza, awaiting orders to invade as the aerial bombardments from both sides continues.
Mwah! Tastes great, more killing. Look, both sides are engaging in aerial bombardment, but one side appears to be better at it. Most Hamas rockets are neutralized by Israel's Iron Dome technology, and Israeli citizens can even now download a warning app.
You'll get it on your phone, and you'll know exactly what city is being targeted and when it's being targeted.
Well, that's the $2.99 version. The free version... In the free version, you have to watch a clip of Transformers 4. And then, if you can get it off the screen, they'll tell you where the bomb is coming. So Israelis seem to have a high-tech smartphone alert system. How are the Gazans notified?
Basically, a small mortar explosion on the roof of a building, which serves as an Israeli warning of an upcoming airstrike.
So the Israeli military warns Gaza residents of imminent bombing with a smaller warning bombing. An amuse boom, if you will. And then, at that point...
Yeah, and I mean, so the overhanded reaction or the heavy-handed reaction by Israel, I think that's why most people, I think a lot of people believe that they are in control of the world, and because they have the ADL and other lobbying groups like AIPAC and the Southern Poverty Law Center in their pockets, that they control the world. And I do think that the neoconservative wing of the State Department, the Victoria Newlands, the John Kerrys, Skull and Bonesmen, the Yaleys, all of those people do have an ideology. Yes. And it's pro-Israel. I think a lot of them, pander to Israel as well. I mean, Nixon, one of the few more candid presidents, talked about what a huge pain in the ass the Israelis were. So I don't know if they've run their course. If the
well, I guess the question that it's real easy to look at the situation that's going on right now with Israel and the Gaza Strip, and especially. Being in independent media, and to take that stance that it is a disproportionate reaction to the kidnapping and the kidnappings that have been going on, and B, these rocket attacks that are almost daily. It's a disproportionate reaction. Plus, Israel absolutely has the ability. The military ability that far outweighs Hamas or anything that is available to the people of Gaza, and they are a captive audience.
They can't leave. I mean, you're having a humanitarian crisis. You have upwards of 100,000 people trying to get out of Gaza, and some interesting reports that the Israelis are firing experimental weapons at the Gaza civilians, say doctors. Now. Is this chemical weapons, white phosphorus? That's what they used in Operation Cast Lead back in 2008. And they deny it, and that's the hubris. It's like, oh, we don't have any nuclear weapons. It's like, well, that's admitted. You have over 400 of them. Well, yes, we want you to know, but we'll just keep lying and telling you that we don't because we just want to be known as liars, and everybody's okay with that. The same thing with this. It's okay to use chemical weapons or white phosphorus. We have freaking videos. Okay, there's no question. It's not disputable. It's not a discussion. It's point blank, red-handed,
you did it right.
Smoking gun, proof positive, and I think that's why people really do dislike Israel, not just people on the alternative media, but globally, because they're allowed to have. I mean, they don't let nuclear weapons inspectors into their country. They don't play by the same rules. They are above the law when it comes to their politics, and it really just goes right back to using the Holocaust and dead Jewish people as an ace, a card up their sleeve in every discussion. Well, you're just anti-Semitic, Charlie McGrath. You don't like what Israel's doing? That's because you hate the Jews. You're a Klan member. And it's the same type of thing with Barack Obama, where if you disagree with the Justice Department, if you don't like Jay Johnson's approach to immigration, you're a freaking racist. You don't like black people. So these are, I think that it's important to talk about Zionism, political Zionism, and just these scams that are used to basically shield the horror and the murder and the bloodshed that these countries are conducting.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree with that. I do think that the what's lost in it, and unfortunately, it's by their own action, Israel's own action, is that they do have a right to protect themselves. But the way it seems that the way they go about it is this bludgeon. They like to bludgeon the enemy. Now, I mean, who's to say?
Well, they shouldn't be. I mean, if you want a solution, you can't treat everybody as the enemy. The whole, we'll give you land for peace. That didn't work very long. The idea that you could have a real peace treaty and there would be a respect of sovereignty and land and ownership for the Palestinians. I mean, even the UN is compromised and politicized as they are. And I mean, just another arm of global government. They're even saying this is a war crime. This is complete apartheid. And that's what it is. I mean, you have them wanting to start a racist Jewish state. The idea of a Jewish state in and of itself is racist. That's like saying you want a Christian state. Well,
right.
What about all the
or I mean, even to take it further, I mean, you're using religion, but even if we said we wanted a white state, it would be the same. It would be along those same lines, completely and utterly unacceptable in the view of most of the world. Yet, we have no problem with it when it comes to Israel.
Well, and we don't have any problem with when it comes to somebody that we feel bad for. I mean, you have. Look at you have. Under the guise of diversity, you have a system that is pretty racist. We have the forcing of corporations to hire certain minority groups because of legislation, and that in and of itself is pretty racist. It's race-based hiring, race-based demographics. You see that in the military. So we get used to these kind of ideas that, you can have a black action committee on your college campus, but if we were to have a white one, that would be a huge, huge problem. That would be racist. Now they're both race,
they're both racist. Period.
Yeah, and not, just because it's racist doesn't mean that you are a supremacist. That's what this is my pet peeve. I say it all the time. Everybody is a racist. We all believe certain things that aren't necessarily true and over broaden or certain groups.
Such as Latin women are the hottest of women. Go.
Exactly. That would be based on race. That is racist. That doesn't mean that you think that you're better than them. That's supremacism. I'm better than you because I'm white. We're smarter than you. There's some kind of science that Dr. David Duke has uncovered that means that Charlie McGrath is smarter than somebody else. I mean, that's supremacism, and these things are different. I've never met anybody that wasn't racist, and that doesn't mean they're bad people. They just
I agree with you 100%. I mean, if the truth be told, when people are speaking candidly, I do believe that is absolutely the case. My point is, you have Israel, which I do believe they have a right to exist. I believe they have a right to defend themselves. But if you take something, Israel, who is based on a religion and they have their own land, and we support it wholeheartedly
this is the whole thing. This is the whole deal.
Hold on.
They believe God gave them that land, and that's why they get it.
I mean, Yeah, okay.
But you can't have God as your real estate broker. That's never going to work. God doesn't say, well, all you've
Well, it certainly doesn't work for ISIS or ISIL. It doesn't work for them to claim that they have the right to establish land that is made up for and will obey the law of Muhammad. Right? I mean, so it doesn't work. It doesn't work for them when they try to establish an Islamic state. Yet we condone and support an Israeli state, a Jewish state.
That's true. That's true. That's just one of the many. I mean, that's the paradoxical world that we live in, and that's why people are okay with it. If you're okay with certain things being unequal, and that's the reason that I guess
such as
Anglo people, the white people in this country say, well, black people were treated so bad by the whites, and through segregation, we've really hurt these groups, and even because of racism, we have constantly seen a creation of poverty and ghettoism in the black community. So to make that right, to fix that problem, to right the wrongs of yesteryear, we're going to do something that isn't fair. It's not right. It's not based on science or even, giving somebody the capitalism. It's not based on anything other than we're going to create this handicap system. We're going to, and the same thing for Israel. Well, they're the little guys, and I hear this all the time. Israel, they just want such a little tiny piece of land, and look how much the whole rest of the Middle East is there. The whole rest, and all they want is this little tiny Jewish speck in the sea of brown, and that is the justification for burning people's property, their olive groves. It's for killing their children. It's for basically going and creating these faux archaeological sites that say, well, we found Jewish artifacts here, and we're going to have to go ahead and get – and they use eminent domain just like they do here in this country. They're like, okay, your house is now part of the Jewish Museum's ownership, and then they just rent it out to, settlers. And so it's so if you think that that's okay and all the other hypocritical things that go on are okay because it rights the wrongs of yesteryear. My God, I mean, that's what we have. We just have this crazy, and people won't talk about how that's unfair and unequal. Yeah, well, it's somewhat equal. It's fixing things. Okay, I don't see social engineering people. Now we're socially engineering society to think that is the proper way to socially.
Why are we experiencing the Semitic guilt? Why do we have to have this guilt?
I don't have any guilt. I don't.
No. I'm saying as the United States and this never-ending financial support and turning a blind eye on atrocities. Why do we have to have this guilt? We didn't partake in the whole. I mean, in fact, we could say that if it wasn't for the Western world, if it wasn't for the United States, this atrocity would have been far, far worse. So I guess I don't.
Israel lets us keep nuclear weapons in the Middle East, and they have that race card.
That's big of them. Thanks, Israel. I appreciate it. And it is, what's going on right now. 200 plus deaths to one. The cattle herding mentality that occurs inside of Gaza. The people. I don't really care about Hamas. I really don't. I really don't care about the government of Israel. When it comes down to people, it's just like Ukraine. You're having innocents being destroyed. For the want of what? That's what it boils down to. For the want of a propagation of an ideal that is unfair and unjust from the get-go.
Yeah.
However, I will say that Latin women are definitely hotter. No doubt about it.
Racist, prick.
Whatever. Yeah, well, it's true.
Right.
I can't help the truth.
If you go to Doomcast.com, great video called "This Land Is Mine," and it talks about all the people. It's a little cartoon. I think it's really powerful.
It's about it. It's hilarious. Well, awesome. I shouldn't say hilarious. It's not that funny, but
it's the history of Gaza and all that have killed and said that God had endowed it to them. And that's why I said that God is not your real estate broker. Cannot use.
Let me ask you, what is the next? I mean, Doug Owen. This is Doomcast 50, and there's some doomy crap on this very day. I mean, what does Doomcast 51 bring us? I mean, we could, and I know you kind of like to look at the more positive side of things, but I'm telling you, man, Ukraine is still just getting warmed up. And I should say Ukraine. I should say East versus West is just getting heated up, and this land incursion, this boots on the ground inside of Gaza. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a quick in and out like we saw in 2008. I mean, things are getting really freaking ugly.
Well, the incursions into Gaza are not anything new. They've been happening with the current Zionists, the Israelis, and the Palestinians since 1948. Since the ousting of over, almost 2 million Palestinians when they left that fine year. So that, I mean, that's not anything different. And the rise between I guess the worst thing they could be is one step further than the Cold War, and that would be a thermal nuclear war. That is probably the worst, and I don't think we're going to get there.
Probably. I don't know what you could fill in the blank with that would be that actually escalate above that, but
we're talking worst case doom scenarios here. That's as bad as we could get next week. We could be suffering nuclear winter. Although it would take a while, and I don't want all of you nuclear fission know-it-alls. I'm just saying, sending me tons of emails.
You're in a very heavily populated, valuable state to this union.
We got that guy that looks like Rachel Maddow. What's his name? Rick Perry. Rick Perry. That's it.
I thought you meant that guy named Rachel Maddow.
Yeah. Well.
Ooh, that probably got me in trouble.
She's a handsome guy.
She is a handsome fella. What about Rick Perry? What's he saying we should do?
Close the border. Give the government more money. Institute biometric ID. Vote for him for president.
Of course. Is he running? Are we going to see him in 2016?
That's the only reason that he has those glasses on now, trying to make himself look smarter and hoping that they don't play reruns of all of his idiotic answers, not knowing which government agencies that he wanted to eradicate. You want to get rid of 3 of them, huh, Rick Perry? Which 3? He's like, oh boy, 3 agencies I want to get rid of. Oh,
remember that? I have the douche chills for that guy. I mean, it was so bad. You prayed he would get it, because you just couldn't see somebody suffering like that.
Oh no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every second of it. Because, I mean, he's just this douchebag, and he's a guy that will constantly get voted in because he has an R in front of his name, and that's all. That's all he has done for Texas. He runs on this platform that he created the economy. I mean, he's like our version of Al Gore. Al Gore said that he created the internet and he could save us from global warming. He's just a few hairs under that level of smug pompous. He's right there.
Yeah, and by accident, the economy in Texas is going to do very, very well just because of its the fact that it's on the Gulf of Mexico. The fact that
somebody say it's Halliburton and Standard Oil and all of those things, but
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean,
it could be Rick Perry's great hairdo. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, it is probably Rick Perry and his cool glasses.
Yeah. Now they look so smart, and he's putting together packages. It's just hilarious because they have all these pictures of him. He's got folders and papers, and he's putting together his comprehensive immigration plan, which is completely silly. And I've said it many times. You cannot fight the free market to a certain extent. The black market's even more powerful. As long as there is a demand for illicit drugs, human slaves, all of the other things that are sold and cross the border, you're going to have problems. And now technology just makes it that much better. I mean, you can buy a quadcopter for a few $100, and before you know it, I can fly cocaine right over that South Texas border, no problem.
Not that Doug Owen is endorsing flying drugs across the border,
but it could. That's my backup plan if Doomcast and the day job doesn't work out. So.
We're quickly running up on an hour, so I want to give a couple of quick thank yous. Very, like I said, very interesting week in Doomcast, and it just happened to be all hit the fan the day we recorded it with what's going on in Ukraine. And I apologize for my voice cracking here, but it's been a long day, as well as what's going on in Gaza. But I do want to thank some listeners. I have a listener I want to mention, as well as Doug has one he would like to mention. But James in Italy, thank you very much for your kind $50 donation. I will read this real quick. He says, "Hi, Doug and Charlie. I love your shows, especially the Doomcast. Keep it up as long as you can. Warm regards from James in Italy." So thank you very much, James. We will keep it up as long as we can. And I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everybody's continued support, Doug.
I don't think we've had a donation from Italy. It's really cool. Thank you.
It's the first one. Yeah. Berlusconi.
Let's go north, and this came from Andrew. "Hey, Doug. I am, like the subject says, it says a new awakened Canadian. It says, I've been listening to and loving your show and Doomcast. My question is about the Canadian part of all of this. I can't really seem to find out anything regarding my government except the obvious, like that the Bank of Canada is owned by the Crown Corporation and the Queen owns all the land in Canada and much more. Her and her good little buddy, Queen Beatrix.
That bitch.
Sorry. Bitch. But I was wondering if you could tell me more or do a show on your neighbor to the north.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
Direct me to a podcast site that deals more with the Canadian contingent of the Elites plan. Thank you. And it's a great question. I don't know.
That is a great question.
I don't know. Stefan Molyneux, I know he's Canadian, but he doesn't focus a lot on Canadian politics.
No, he doesn't. He's more global in nature.
Libertarianism,
more anarchist, I would say. Yeah, that's a great question. And
Stephen Harper is a douche. I know that. And people in Canada have square wheels. So
that is not true. I love Canada, and I do believe that I will undertake this project requested to us by a listener to give information on the plans for the New World Order for Canada. Now, I look at Canada as this, kind of like the United States with the UK or England as an empire, looking at this vast land with vast resources and sending basically the lower class over here to do the labor and to send that wealth across the Atlantic. I look at Canada as a lot of the same way. I mean, you have this vast land, right? Geographically, I believe bigger than the United States, population-wise, about 30 million versus 312 million, and certainly a diamond in the rough for the New World Order because of its mass resources, energy, timber, you name it. Canada possesses it, so I think it's a great idea for a show, Doug.
It's like Batman's Robin. You need Canada. Lots of money, big economy. If you get them on board, then because of that, oil producer extraordinaire, top 5 means that the
absolutely, and
very important.
And if you look at military engagements in the last century, Canada's played a pivotal role. Their military has very much been involved in everything from current conflicts all the way back to World War I.
Everybody loves Canada. If you're an American and you're flying internationally, you may do as I did. And if all you patriots spare me. When I was in the military, we would tell people all the time, "Where are you from?" "Canada." "Oh, yeah, Canada's great. You want to smoke some hash?" You tell them you're from the United States, and they would give you that, "Oh, you're a freaking douchebag. You think you're better than me, don't you, punk?" Well, I'll show you. Yeah.
I was in the military. I know exactly what you're talking about. I spend a lot of time in Canada, actually, now. I love Canada. I love the people up there. I love the demeanor, the way of life. In fact, I would not be opposed to eventually living in Canada because I agree with a lot of their points of view.
You should have moved 10 years ago when the loonie was half of what the dollar is today. That was one of the big reasons that you'd go to Canada, is because you could live like a king on and they had more for some people, they had much more liberal marijuana laws, so people would vacation, and that's why you'd go to Vancouver, and that was the destination. Now probably due to the Conservative Party and Harper and the like, not nearly as friendly, although when people look for money, they look for new tax incentives, and they're even the federal government's now looking at Colorado and like, these guys, they can get stoned They won't care about politics. They'll be completely docile, and we will tax the crap out of them. Brilliant. And better yet, in Colorado, they won't sell you a firearm if you have a medical license to smoke the ganj. They can deny you that. They've been sending out, and this is all color of law bull crap. It's illegal. It's against your Second Amendment. It's just, the color of law. They enforce plenty of laws that don't exist and should not.
That are illegal.
Yeah. We got a couple other feedback. Here's an interesting one, and I always like finding out how somebody found the show or found the podcast. This one comes from Mike. Hey, Doug, just want to say quickly, I first heard you on Ground Zero a little over a year ago or so and have been listening to BLN and Doomcast every week since. I'm a truck driver and listen to the podcast all day. You know what? I was going to download. I'm so cheesy. I was going to get a trucker horn.
That's my trucker horn. Big rig, womp.
Yeah, I should have done that. Pre-production.
That's all right.
Requires a lot of time. I mean,
that's all right. Listen. I'm going to do it for you right now. Big rig, womp.
Womp. Yeah. When I was a little kid, we'd always stand down on the highway, give the international
pull the horn.
Pull the horn. Yeah. And truckers would do it. We're like, yeah, you're freaking awesome.
Yeah, anyway, I hear you.
Anyway,
so tell me more about Mike. What did Mike have to say?
Because I find these two programs to be the most professional and well-articulated that I listen to. Thank you very much for the dedication you give to them. Yeah, and my only critique would be that I miss the 2-hour BLN program. Because I know most people listen on their drives to and from work, but as someone who drives all day long, I wish it was still 2 hours.
Oh, my God. If we cater, Mike, thank you. Love you. Thank you for listening. But if we cater to the truckers, we would be doing this 15 hours a day because you're all lying on your logbooks anyway, and you're driving longer than you should be. But I understand. Thank you for the support.
And thank you for not being high on crystal meth and listening to the podcast.
And running into my car when I'm going down the highway.
Yes. Thank you for not killing us and sparing all the biker lanes, all the bikers that we have here, not like Harley Davidson bikers or Hells Angels bikers, but this is just great central planning, and it doesn't matter that it's not safe, it's ridiculous, and it's pointless. They've been putting these bike lanes all over Austin.
Oh, my God.
And they've got them in the middle of, highways.
They want people to die is what the thing is. And we have the same thing here in Bozeman, Montana. I have this discussion every day. Look, and I'm somewhat of an athlete. I absolutely believe in staying in shape. But we have bike lanes in places that are going to get people freaking killed.
It takes a leap in logic, and you know that somebody's just got that Agenda 21 money or whatever it is. We're going to do this because it's going to get a tax incentive for being sustainable from the green government, from the the tyranny of good intentions. It's going to be great,
no doubt.
And here's something else. They're like, well, this is the sad yet true yet insightful reason. They said, well, as people get poorer, they're going to be riding their bikes more.
That's a great point. And that's funny because every time when I drive to work in the morning at 6:30 a.m. trying to go to a job that's productive, I'm almost killing many people that are riding in these so-called biking lanes that they use the bike. What's alleged biking lanes? They use the biking lanes when they're convenient to bike, but then they use the crosswalks when as they are walking pedestrians. But as I'm seeing these folks, I'm thinking to myself, I've spent some time not in Beijing, where it's kind of like here, kind of like the U.S. as far as automobile traffic. I've spent some time outside of Beijing, Boding, China, where it is, 90% pedestrian traffic. And that's exactly what I think, Doug, is, we're all heading to there, are we? Where we're going to be riding around on our bicycles. If we're lucky, we're going to have a 2-cylinder moped carrying around recyclables.
Well, it gives us all something to do. We have to clean up the ocean. We have to get rid of all the plastic. We polluted that's the new economy. And I've said this over and over again. This is Doomcast number 50, and I probably said it 25 times. The new economy is the green economy, and that's what they're trying. That's just what they're spending all the money on. And so
screw the bikers, get off the damn road.
Yeah, get back in your little cage. That's where the government can keep you safe from terrorists. They just have to
Men.
You just have to get your DNA and give you a butt probe every day, and then
butt probe coming your way.
keep you safe from all those crazy lone wolf terrorist right wing nut jobs at the Clive and Bundy ranch that are coming for your children and trying to turn them into libertarians.
Lock him up. My name is Charlie McGrath. My website is wideawakenews.com. My co-founder, my friend, is Doug Owen. His website is blacklistednews.com. If you want to contact Doug in regards to Doomcast, please contact him at doug@blacklistednews.com. Title it Doomcast or subject it Doomcast. If you want to contact me, please contact me at info@wideawakenews.com. Subject it Doomcast. You promise to bring it to the air or respond personally. All right, we'll be back next week with Doomcast number 51, just 2 weeks away from our 1 year anniversary. Doug Owen, thank you very much as always. Boy.